Hi everyone, welcome to Mommy Mondays. And if you've missed me for a while, it's because I've been sick. My son was sick, I was sick, my son was sick, I was sick. And that happens a lot when they go to school and they're young and they're building up their immunity, but in the meantime everybody gets affected. So I keep forgetting to tell you in these last few filmings. If you like my video, please like it. Give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. Please comment down below and join the conversations. Please share it if you know someone else would be interested in this content. And yeah, just hang out with me for a little bit. I talk about art, fashion. On Mondays, we talk about mommying. And yeah. So recently I got some tips that I need to start telling you guys what I'm wearing and, all these things. So I'm going to do that really quickly. I'm wearing my Mother's Day present. It is a whistle from the Nike and Tiffany & Company collaboration. I'm also wearing a Missoni top from years and years and years and years ago. These earrings are from, I want to say House of Diamonds. I'm not really sure. They're in Otrius. It's just diamonds inside and out. Yeah, and my grandmother's bangles. The silver ones are from my mom's mom, and the gold one is from my dad's mom. Yeah, so these are from, I think I picked this one up in Bali, and this one says, anything is possible if you believe. I used to travel to Las Vegas all the time. I don't know if you can see it, but I used to travel to Las Vegas all the time for the show. It's called Magic. It's a trade show, and I think I picked that bangle up there from one of the brands that were there. So yeah, so let's get into Mommy Mondays. Actually, it's fitting that I'm a little sick because I'm going to talk about when your baby's sick. As I promised the last time. Also, we got a question from Manju, so I'm going to answer it for her. She asked me about Lyric and how did I choose his name. When I was pregnant, I thought I was going to have a girl. I really wanted a girl so bad. Excuse me. And so I thought that it was a girl, and we called her Golda. And I kept calling her Golda, except it wasn't a her. By the time they did the gender reveal, it was a boy. And I was like, oh my God, I've been calling my belly Golda this whole time. And then I turned to Johnny one night after, like when I was, consoling myself. He was consoling me as well. And I said, what do you think of the name Lyric? And he was like, Lyric, that's his name. And that was it. A few months later, I remembered that when I was like 14, I had said that if I have a baby boy, his name would be Lyric. And I remember telling my dad that, and my dad said, but Lyric is a girl's name. And I was like, how is Lyric a girl's name? Like, it doesn't even sound girly. Like, I come from, like, my generation of girls, Gianna, Brianna, Bianca, Melinda, Melody, Alicia, Shahini. Shahini is a throwback from my other aunt. But you understand, like, my generation of girls, it sounds like girl names. Lyric is not a girl name. So anyway, I didn't even remember that whole thing transpired when I was saying it to Johnny. And then when I remembered, I said, I did say when I was 14 that if I had a boy, it's going to be Lyric. Johnny's like, oh, that's crazy. And I was like, well, anyhow, we have Lyric. And Lyric is very fitting because my husband used to lyrics me all the time. So it works out. So that's why Lyric, Manju, okay? Now, I'm going to talk about when your baby's sick because, like, my son, when he was born, we were in the hospital for, I think, 3 days because he had bilirubin issues. So bilirubin is apparently when they're born, the liver jump starts to like filter out, all the toxins out of your body, that sort of a thing. And them eating helps it move along, helps the process move along and everything. But when you just have a baby, like all your breast milk is not in, so they're not getting as much as they will eventually. So it slows the process. But the thing is that with that, it needs to go fast, like to flush it all out, or your baby will end up with jaundice. And basically, like they test the bilirubin at levels, and if it gets to like 20, like your baby can have brain damage. So they need to flush it out as soon as possible. So it happens with the feeding, and it happens with lights, like UV lights, because sunshine is very good for your baby and to prevent the jaundice. But because you're indoors in a hospital, they'll put you in a Billy blanket, like, so it's a blanket that has UV rays. Anyhow, I want to say UV rays, but maybe it's not UV rays, maybe it's synthetic. I don't know. But yeah, so my son had Billy issues, and then what was worse is that, mothers can help the baby through it, not just by the breastfeeding, but if we have the same blood type, like apparently it would start the process from before you give birth. But my son ended up with his father's blood type. So, and we don't have the same blood type. So he was, So, his bilirubin was stubborn in terms of coming down in the first few days. So they kept us to make sure. But once they realized that the reading stayed flat, they were sure that it would start to go down, because as his weight goes up, it's like this sliding scale type deal. So as his weight goes up, it would mean that the Billy goes down even more. So when they got like 3 consecutive readings of the same thing, they said, oh, it's fine. We can, discharge you and you can go home. So we went home, but then they said you have to go tomorrow to recheck the Billy at a pediatrician. So they don't let you leave unless you have an appointment for the next day. So we had an appointment for the next day, and we went the next day. And when we went the next day, his Billy, okay, so when we left the hospital, the Billy was at like 11. When we went the next day to the doctor, the Billy was at 19.1. And remember, 20 is brain dead. So, we rushed back to the hospital, basically. The doctor at the place didn't seem concerned. At the pediatrician's office, she didn't seem too concerned. She was like, just get a Billy blanket. But he had been in a Billy blanket in the hospital for like 2 days, and it didn't move. And then we go home, and he's supposedly getting bigger, so it should come down. And it went all the way sky high. So I was like, no. So we went right back to the hospital where he was born. And they put him in. They admitted him. By the time they admitted him, it had come down from 19.1 to 17.4. And but they still said it was too high and it shouldn't have climbed since we left. So they put him in a Billy incubator. So it was COVID time, and at the time they were saying that only one parent could stay. But me and Johnny were both there, and I was breastfeeding. So I was not going to not stay. And I needed help because I was recovering. So Johnny was not going to not stay either. So we ended up both staying. They couldn't do anything about it. And they said originally that it would just be 24 hours. He would be put in the Billy incubator, and by the next day we could go home. By the next day, he was 17.1, not 17.4 like when they admitted him, but 17.1 in a Billy incubator for 24 hours. it should have been drastically lower. So they were not happy with the results, and neither was I. Remember, originally when they discharged us, when he was a newborn, it was 11 something, 11 point something. They discharged us at. So for it to be 17.1 now, they were like, no, we have to keep him longer. So we said fine. So they kept us another 24 hours. And at that point, when they did that Billy check, it was like 8.3. So it was where it should be and trending downward and all of that. So they discharged us. What I will say that I had noticed was only like the whites of his eyes were like a slight off white, like a almost cream, maybe not yellow, but not white. And that was the only indication. They did have to supplement my breastfeeding with formula. When we were in the hospital the first time when he was just born, we were able to supplement with donor milk because breast milk is best, but fed is really best. So whatever you can feed with. So we supplemented originally with donor milk, my milk plus donor milk. And they treat the donor milk just like how a blood bank would. So they clean it, make sure there's nothing in it, whatever. And it's labeled and whatever. And they bring it to you and they offer you in like, I guess, however many ounces. And I'm all for it. Like, I think it's a great system. But then once you get readmitted to the normal pediatric unit, they don't have donor milk there. It's only available in the maternity section. So we couldn't get the donor milk there. So what we had to do was get formula. And so we used that to supplement because he had to be eating often because they poop out the billy, basically. That's what happens. So, so we were doing that. So we supplemented. So he was supplemented from day one. I didn't end up exclusively breastfeeding until like maybe 7 weeks in. When I had all my milk and on demand whenever he wanted it. But yeah. So, and I'm a strong believer in breastfeeding. I'm still breastfeeding. He's 18 months old. When he was 1, I think is when the World Health Organization changed it from the recommendation being breastfeeding till 1 to breastfeeding till 2. So I've got 6 months left. And I'm glad that I'm doing it. I'm glad that I'm doing it because I think it's the best thing for my son. It's not the most convenient thing for me. I have to think about what I'm wearing all the time, what kind of bra I'm going to put on underneath, where I'm going to be. Like, it's a lot. But I mean, it's 2 years of doing this to set him up for the rest of his life. Like, when he gets sick at school, like how we've been trading sicknesses now, you know, other kids, like, they'll be out for 2 weeks, a month, and he kind of is ready back in 3 days to a week. Like his time is shorter because, of course, I get to help him through whatever it is, through the breastfeeding. So that part makes me feel like I'm really helping and doing my part as his mom. So that's what's going on with that. So now I'm sick and I'm trying to get over it. And I don't know how many more experiences like this, but apparently this is very, 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 very common. So, yeah. So what I want to tell you is, remember, I don't really offer advice, but I think that you know your child. So if you ever suspect anything off and you don't know how to fix it, always seek medical attention. You know, you went through a lot to have your baby. I went through a lot to have mine. So if it is that I think that I can manage it, I will. But if I don't play hero. I go and seek professional help. So, thanks so much for joining me for Mommy Mondays, and we'll see you next week.